I was born 1974 on July 23rd, and it was also confirmed that that was most likely the date. And I was adopted to Sweden when I was almost 4 months. I arrived to Sweden on, what was it, November 22nd. Well, I was told from early age that I was adopted from Seoul, and I was so the story is a little bit blurry, but what I believe is that my parents told me that I was probably had a very young mother, and that she went to a midwife and she had me, and then she disappeared as soon as she could walk. I'm not sure the same day or just the day after. And then later, I've been back and I've been doing a little research, and that goes together with that story that most likely I was born at I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but something called Chosanso. And it was in the old days where people had, I was told you were born there if the parent was poor or if they wanted to hide something. So what most likely was is that a woman got pregnant, the boy was maybe didn't even know about it or got scared and they weren't married, and then he disappeared or they decided not to continue a relationship. And she probably, what I'm thinking, had some kind of status. She didn't want to ruin her reputation, and then she had me secretly. And then, yeah, she disappeared. So as I went back to Korea and I found out a little bit more about that, then I was told that my name was given by the midwife. I had my two parents, and I had my brother, and we usually said that he was homemade. um, and then I have my grandparents and my mother's parents who are still alive, and my grandmother I'm very connected to. She's probably the one that I'm closest to, and so she's 94 right now, and it's scary because obviously sooner or later she's going to be gone. And my father's parents, they passed away a little bit earlier, so I didn't have maybe that strong connection with them. And my both of my parents were the only children, so we had a really small family and not a lot of cousins and whatnot. And first, when I was adopted into Stockholm, and we lived in Stockholm until I was a little over 6. And then the summer before I started school, in Sweden you start school at 7, then we moved up to the countryside, 3 hour north, to a small little town and a small little village. It was great for me. I was able to have a great childhood. I had 5 different horses at 4 different times, and I was competing horseback riding. I was doing a lot of different sports. I did cross country skiing. I did soccer. I did tennis. I did, you name it, all of it. But horseback riding was probably taking most of my time, and and then just living a normal village kind of life. And I got really comfortable in the village because I think around 4 I realized that I had to be different, because my mom, she was sorting laundry morning, and I was down in the basement with her, and I was looking at the laundry, and I said, "Mom, if I was to be if you were to wash me, I would be in the dark pile, right?" So I had realized, like, I'm dark and they're not so dark. So but my parents, my family, they were great. They were open to me. They were just really didn't make any difference whatsoever that I was not of their blood. However, I always put myself a little bit on the outside. I always felt that I was the outsider. I know when we would do family games, for example, then I would always pick the like physics or chemistry or questions like that, where they always would answer about actors and stuff like that, and I don't. I'm thinking that our brains are wired differently, and then now that I see what career choices we made, also then that kind of reinforces my thoughts around that our brains are wired a little different. My parents, my whole family, they showed me a lot of love, and I definitely really got the good foundation what real love is. And sometimes I could possibly feel that I would have wanted maybe deeper conversations, and I would wanted the a different connection that I feel that some other I would say girls have with their mothers, or girls with, or any children with their parents. And I think that's all in my head, because I definitely had the backup I needed. However, I I I always felt that I really that I maybe couldn't count that it would always be there. It was always scary for me regarding it wasn't if I was going to be abandoned. It was just a question when I was going to be abandoned. So I know that it's still with me today, and though I'm almost 40 now, then I know a little bit better, but it still has me sometimes. I've got a folder that my parents kept for me, and it was actually just last December that I went back to Korea, and it was one of those moments. I've been doing a lot of flying, so I wanted to catch some more miles for the flight, and I was on the phone with the agent, and I was planning to maybe go to uh, visit some friends in South America. Went to maybe go to Africa, and then all of a sudden I said, well, couldn't get the trips work together. So then I said, well, maybe you should check Korea, because I've been thinking going there. And then everything just fell into place. I got a good first class ticket, first class flight ticket, and it just worked with schedule. And I got the miles I wanted to get to my next status. So then basically everything went really smooth and without a lot of planning, because earlier when I was younger, I was putting a lot of importance into when I should go back to Korea and how that all should look. And what turned out was it was great, because it just happened. And a few weeks later, I find myself on the plane to Korea, and I've been traveling all around the world, and then all of a sudden I'm getting off on the airport in Seoul, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is different. Maybe I should feel something. Maybe I should start acting weird, or maybe I should cry or something like that. But it felt a little strange. I did the cheating way, because I booked a really nice hotel in the financial district, and I had a nice suite. So I'm thinking, if my experience was really bad, then at least I had a good a good hotel to fall back on. And it turned out to be really good, because um, I think what happened was that I've heard so many stories that you're treated bad when you go back to Korea, and you're not accepted and whatnot. So then I thought, well, at least I'm paying these guys to be nice to me. So I was only there for 4 nights, and then the following day, pretty much, I went down to the bellboys, and I took these papers that I brought on my iPad, and I had them help me translate to see. I had two addresses with me. I was thinking maybe I could find some connections through these two addresses. Well, it led back to that one address was where the adoption center was back when, and the other address was that the president of that company had that address maybe as an office, or where he was born or something like that. So ultimately, I got confirmed that there's nothing to find, and I had a meeting scheduled with the adoption agency that took care of everything, and that was confirmed later in the meeting, that there's just nothing to find out. And what I had been worried about a little bit is maybe they had some kind of regulation where they knew more information than I was told, and because of some uh, paper someone signed that they weren't going to be able to tell me if someone had been looking for me or something. So then I was able to ask the question, if someone was looking on the other side, then would they be able to find me? And they said that yeah, supposedly there's only 4 agencies, and it would be very possible if they knew my birth date and my sex, then they would be able to find me, because I had at around 2009 or 10 or something left my information, so it would be really easy to track me. So then that settles that I know there's no one looking on the other side, which in a way, of course, it feel one always wants to be found and missed or whatever. But I think also if a young woman got pregnant and then she hid this for the society, because however the societies these days over there, I think it would be a really hard choice maybe for me also to see if I did find someone. Now it's put in my hands whether I should go in and basically maybe ruin someone's life, because that person may not have told anything to a new family, a new husband, and then all of a sudden that may be a whole life-changing story for all of them over there. So so what I did, I made sure I left all my information. It didn't really feel like a, a, a closed chapter, more like that I did what I could, and then it's in their hands. If anyone, if their life changes or something happens over there, and they wonder about me and they want to come and find me, then it's a possibility. And also sometimes, one is thinking that it could be maybe I wasn't abandoned, because abandonment has been a big part of my life. And when I'm thinking about it as at an older age, I'm thinking, well, maybe I wasn't abandoned. Maybe I was taken care of, because who knows if the parent died, if what all happened. So yeah, that has been going back and forth a little bit. When I was a teenager, I was kind of remote, and I walked around with a Walkman and had music because I didn't want to interact with society really. And I felt really different, and I had a big crisis identity wise. And then when I was around 23, I had made up my mind that okay, I'm gonna leave my comfortable little village, and I'm gonna really make a big step. So I ended up moving to Mexico, and that was I was working with tourism in Mexico, which made me be able to try on a lot of different identities per week. So that was kind of like therapy a little bit, because I know some weeks I was playing with it, and I was working as a scuba dive instructor and a cave dive guide, and every week I felt like it. I could play that one different. So sometimes I would act really poor, and I would act that well I came from China or something like that, and then I always got tip, and people acted a little different. And then if I said the true story that I was adopted and I came from Sweden, I never hardly ever got any tip. And it wasn't that I was giving a different service, it was probably how people related to me. And it was really useful for me, because I was able to, almost like an actress living different roles, and then find my identity that way. And I had done that about 7 years, and then I moved around uh, to all different countries. I've lived in well, Mexico, Dominican Republic, Thailand, Canada, and then United States. And I've got to see a little bit more than just the Swedish culture, where everything here is pretty organized, and culture wise, and everything is pretty much uh, just very one way, because it's just one culture, and we're far up in the north here. I enjoy traveling, because then I feel at peace. And what I found out is that when you travel, when you're on vacation, you don't belong. You're not supposed to belong. And there you go. Me, I can't really belong, or I can, but I feel like I have a hard time belonging because growing up in Sweden, um, and then going to Korea, nothing fits. But yeah, after pretty much experience all different things in my adulthood, then when I need a break, when I need a vacation, I get it double. Um, what is it called? I get it the double ways when I go on the vacation. Then I can relax mentally also because I don't have to belong. If I say that it's all good, then I would be making up stories because in relationship, I always had problems where I am super scared to, I'm not scared to get into a relationship, but I'm really scared that as soon as there's the slightest variation in something that I can make up is a sign that this person is going to leave, or then I get really tense and I have to ask questions. I get insecure, and I've been through many different relationships. I've had uh, various of good boyfriends, and it has definitely probably not been them. It has been me, and I think it all goes back towards me being afraid of the question, not if I'm gonna be abandoned. It's the question when. Today, I would say now I'm done experimenting with my identity, and I'm through all these. I'm very secure in who I am. That way, I really found myself, and I would say I'm extremely strong, which also can sometimes be a little bit of a problem because um, I probably know more about myself at a pretty early age than some people, and then when I compare myself, or when it gets to be, well, I know this, how come you don't know your point, how come you don't know where you stand? Then it's so easy for me to say, well, this is where I stand for, I know it, I don't have to think about it, which is obviously good, but has its bad sides also. Since I was 23, I've lived all over the world, and only for about 3 years as an adult I lived back in Sweden. But I would say that given that I feel so much stronger about myself right now, it feels really pleasant actually to walk around on the streets in Sweden. And I think because there's a lot of adoptees that are growing up to my age and whatnot, then it's more accepted because Swedes are pretty narrow-minded, if you will, and because it's so, everyone conforms in Sweden basically, and since everything is so the same, then as soon as you're different, you're really different. And I think if you're adopted, then you sort of belong to a group where you're not necessarily hit by the racism in Sweden. There's a lot of racism in Sweden, and a lot of Swedes, they don't really think about that or whatever, but I would say it's worse than France. But because it's so far north, and it's really just different. I'm studying right now, full-time student, heading towards neuroscience, and I am not really sure where that's going to end up, but I just the other week came up with maybe a huge project that I have to do a little bit more research if it's possible to do, but something about mapping your genome and to see if it's possible to see if from early age, uh, keep like a library of yourself, and then see if there's any changes in that, to see if possibly you get cancer and whatnot. But I have to do a little bit more research to see if it's ever possible to create a company around that. At this present moment, I'm in a very nice relationship with a Swedish man, and he's just very supportive. He's he really he really understood my fears, and he's doing everything he can really to meet me with um, answering to my million questions I've got, and going through my episodes of ups and downs, and my fears and panic attacks and all those things that I can have sometimes, that obviously I'm not very proud of having, but they're there, and instead of hiding them, he's just really dealing with them and being there for me. And yeah, I love him a lot, and we're building a family right now, which is going to be my first uh, moment where I can experience a relationship with a DNA contact, and it's yeah, that's going to be fantastic. It's going to be scary, and it's going to be fantastic.